What's going on, everyone? So, for about the last week or so, there have been reports kind of circulating about Zach Lavine potentially headed to the Los Angeles Clippers, that the Clippers are interested in adding Zach Lavine. Losing Paul George could use another scorer. But a report came out yesterday from the Clippers side of things that said basically all those reports are nonsense. That all those reports are just from other sides. It's not from the Clippers side. That the Clippers have zero interest in acquiring Zach Lavine and having to give up what would be necessary to get him. That they're not in the market necessarily for another scorer. That they like the moves that they did, and more likely than not are going to roll out the current roster. That they're probably done making any types of moves. Now, obviously, things can change. Things can change quick, but I find it very interesting that basically the Clippers side of things came out and were like, no, we don't want Zach Lavine. Also, the VP, believe it was, even stated that basically followed up, not specifically about Zach Lavine, but said, hey, we're good. We like how we're set up for now and the future, and we're in a good place. We're not really looking to make any big major splashes type thing, right? So, again, all signs kind of point towards, the Clippers aren't interested in Zach Lavine. But it got me thinking, right? Like, okay, one, why this report? Why is this just kind of picked up traction? The obvious answer is the Bulls side trying to drum up some interest for teams that potentially may be curious or interested in trying to acquire Zach Lavine. Of hey, the Clippers, they're pretty interested, right? They're ready to make a push for Zach Lavine and kind of create this buzz. But the biggest thing that really sticks out to me is that it's the Clippers, right? If it was an Orlando or something like that, I wouldn't really think too much of it, right? Even if they came out and said, I'd just be like, they kind of drummed it up. But the fact that it's the Clippers is what makes me wonder if the Lakers we know that the Lakers have at least touched base, but are the Lakers really serious? Again, there's different levels of seriousness, right? There's oh no, we have to get this guy. And then there's kind of hey, if worse comes to worse, go get Zach Lavine, right? Look, I come right out. I'm big on the Zach Lavine trade, right? I want the Lakers to go get Zach Lavine. I think Zach Lavine trade solves a lot for the Lakers. I think one, gets you that other proven just go-to scorer, guy that gives you athleticism out on the perimeter, a guy that gives you over-the-top shooting, one of the best catch-and-shoot shooters in the league, guy that can just go get a bucket, apply rim pressure, right? It also frees up and opens roster spots for you. So now you don't have to kind of just do a blatant salary dump. You can actually do it within the course of going and getting a Zach Lavine. I also think that a Zach Lavine trade could open the door for potential other trades, right? If you can get those second round picks, there's been reports that have said that they're interested, that they may attach the second round picks that they got in the DeMar deal to that. There were reports that were, hey, they might even be willing to give up a first. And now there's kind of this other reports that are no, they don't want to give up a first, which I get. But the initial report said that when they were in that, the word was coming from the teams that had conversations, right? That were having the actual hey, what are you willing to give us for Zach Lavine? And supposedly it was a first at the time. Now, again, things change. The Bulls have said they don't want to just do some drastic trade, they're fine with what they got. But there's a lot of toxicity around just Zach Lavine and the Chicago Bulls. Right? There was another report that came out from the Chicago side of things that said that there was a lot of toxicity in that locker room, and that DeMar DeRozan was kind of the mediator, the bridge between Billy Donovan and Zach Lavine. You don't have DeMar no more, right? So that desperation could really start to pick up as we move closer to the training camp and regular season, right? Right now, they might be hey, we're not giving up any first. Right, we're not doing that. But then once you get to training camp, it's all right, fine. We need to get him off the roster. We'll give up a first. See it all the time. I mean, example that I use all the time is the Russell Westbrook trade. When we traded Russell Westbrook, not traded for, when we traded him, right? It was always we want this, that, and the other. We want all your picks, all your young talent. We want the firstborn child of everybody who hasn't had a child yet. We want, like, it was just like, this is ridiculous. Oh, and you don't get Jared Vanderbilt. You can get Rudy Gay, Mike Conley, and Malik Beasley. And then it got literally like a quarter of what they want. Okay, fine. We'll take 2 first, 1 protected, 1 unprotected, right? Like, and then next thing you know, lo and behold, you get Jared Vanderbilt, and you only have to give up 1 first protected, right? So again, and you got D'Angelo Russell over Mike Conley. So again, those type of things. As you move closer to training camp, everyone's trying to play hardball. Everyone's trying to, not show their hand yet. But as you get there, I could see Chicago. All right, fine. We'll give you a heavily protected first, right? Maybe it's top 10 protected or something like that, right? Which again still has some value, right? If you get a first, top 10 protected or not, right? Like that's something that now you can go leverage to go make a trade for, a Walker Kessler, or maybe you're going to go look for a Cam Johnson or something, right? Like to me, it opens the door to have different things. But I default to. It's very odd that, again, we only have the information that we have to go off of, right? Give you a quick little timeline. So you have the Clippers want Zach Lavine, Clippers want Zach Lavine, Clippers want Zach Lavine, Clippers want Zach Lavine. Finally starts to gain some buzz, gain some traction. People are talking about it. You're getting like, hey, this might be building some momentum here. And then you get the stop of the momentum. And it's like, absolutely not. We want nothing to do with Zach Lavine, right? Now, again, drummed up kind of reports and, misinformation and stuff like that to kind of try to get the ball rolling happens all the time. I mean, us as Laker fans, we see it regularly, right? We think every day there's somebody that's using the Lakers as a leverage point to, get a new contract or get a better coaching job or whatever, right? Like go elsewhere in free agency, right? Like teams love to use the Lakers. And so to me, it's like knowing that, looking at the information, and then getting this stop and then going like, okay, so it's not coming from the Clippers side. So the Clippers want nothing to do with Zach Lavine. No reports from the Clippers side have said that they want Zach Lavine. It's all been just like random media sources, or it's been, like the Bulls side of things. And it's like, why the Clippers out of all teams? Could it be as simple as, hey, they lost, Paul George, so therefore it makes sense that they might want that. But they basically replaced him. Now, I don't think that, I like what the Clippers did. Like, if I remove my Laker bias, I like what the Clippers did this offseason, but I don't think that they're better without Paul George. But, they got guys like, Kevin Porter Jr., stuff like that can potentially, he was a 20-point-a-game guy before, the stuff, right? And then you go into that, right? It's just like, I don't know. To me, it just seems odd that the Clippers are the team that Chicago's trying to use to draw up buzz, right? And you look at what the Clippers did, you look at the guys that they picked up, and it's like, does Zach Lavine make sense? Like, sure, I think he'd make them better, but it's like, what are you going to give up to get to that $40 million plus? Right? Like I said, you just got Kevin Porter Jr., who's a 20-point-a-game scorer. It's just, I don't know. It just look at the pieces of the guy, and it's just like, I don't see them really making a push for Zach Lavine and everything that they'd have to trade to go get Zach Lavine. Just doesn't add up to me. But again, if it was like in Orlando, or if it was like, Detroit again or something like that, then I wouldn't think anything of it. I'd just be like, they were, especially like a team like Detroit, they were interested before, right? It makes sense that they might be interested now. Or, Orlando, it's like, Orlando's really trying to upgrade. They're really trying to bring in guys. Zach Lavine could make some sense. Like, you kind of just justify it, write it off. Okay, like the report makes sense. Or even if it is kind of drawn up, like, this is just clearly but again, as far as we know, Zach Lavine has zero market. No one's really been interested in him. And there's only been like 3 or 4 teams that have really heavily been linked to Zach Lavine. And the Lakers have been one of those teams, right? I mean, going back to the trade deadline, the Lakers were interested in trading for Zach Lavine, and then the injury happened and all that stuff, and then he comes back, and then there was kind of buzz about the Lakers again, and then, Detroit buzz started, and he was like, nah, quoted Austin Reeves, I ain't going to Detroit, right? Like, so, if it was anyone else but the Clippers, I probably wouldn't be putting my tinfoil hat on right now. But the fact that it is the Clippers, right? And the Clippers seem to be interested in every guy. Lakers are interested in something. You can set your watch to it that, the Clippers are going to be interested as well. But there hasn't really been a lot of buzz about Zach Lavine to the Lakers. Right? It's been kind of quiet, right? Like there's been reports, there's been news, and I've talked about the news, but like a lot of like the Zach Lavine videos are just my personal kind of like, hey, I really like the idea of Zach Lavine, like I do, right? Like for those that have watched all the Zach Lavine videos, right? Like more than half of them have been just me like, hey, I really like this idea with Zach Lavine, and then it's kind of my own drummed up like, hey, let's have fun and talk about this, right? It's YouTube. Let's have some entertainment. Let's have some good conversation. Let's explore some possibilities. But that doesn't mean that something's not happening behind the scenes, right? Like, people always say the Lakers move in silent, right? And so, Clippers being linked, I just find it very interesting. Very interesting that, like, maybe the Lakers are moving towards Lavine. It's a possibility. I mean, like I said, it solves basically everything you want to solve. Get you clear to some roster spots. Get you a proven go-to scorer, right? I mean, he's not a number one option, number two option, but as like your third guy, he's great, right? And then, on top of that, his contract won't be as bad when the new TV deal kicks in. Not this year coming up, but the following year, right? So then, his contract actually will be more reasonable. Still not a great contract, but it will be more reasonable. It won't be as impactful for the Lakers going forward. It's just like, you may bring in a couple pieces, maybe bring in like a Tyus Jones or something, right? You kind of look around and it's like, nah. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think it's kind of odd that the Clippers randomly are interested in Zach Lavine? Do you think that no, it's clearly like maybe the Lakers are going after him, right? Are you putting your tinfoil hat on with me? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.